Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and journey throughout the world of martial arts and other stuff they're involved in. My guest today's professional journey has led him into the realm of directing, where he's garnered attention for his exceptional skills. He's been tapped to helm various projects, including 16 and Foxhunt, also known as one of the world's foremost stunt coordinators, fight choreographers, and second unit directors. His incredible creativity, strong work ethic, and 40 years in the martial arts have taken him to the very top of his field. His recent international credits include second unit directing and designing the fight choreography of action sequences, which earned him an Emmy nomination for the Netflix series Wednesday and the hit HBO series Warrior. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Brett Chan. How you doing today, Brett?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
What we like to do with all my guests, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where that interest started, where that first spark came from that kicked off your martial arts journey.
You know, in the 70s, in the early 70s, I was born in Toronto, Canada. There weren't that many Asians there, so I was getting into fights all the time because I was different. And then when I was 6 years old, we moved to the Philippines for 3 years because I'm half Filipino, and you know, I was getting in fights all the time because I wasn't dark enough for all the kids. It was just like one of those things.
Yeah.
And then, so at that point, my father put me in martial arts. He put me into kung fu at first in the Philippines, and then after about a year, I started to get into Shotokan,
Cool.
karate, and then we came back to Canada, and then I was getting into fights all the time because I had a heavy accent for a while. Because then now there are more Asians have been there. It's, you know, it was one of those things, but it was, you know, kids can be not very nice.
Yes.
And so that was my journey. And then we found a Shotokan school. And first I was actually Shitoryu for a little bit.
Okay.
And then I went to Shotokan with Takemasa Okuyama and Zavonko's Celebija.
Okay. So that first Kung Fu style, which system of Kung Fu was that? Do you remember?
It was animal styles.
Oh, really?
So we were doing all sorts of like tiger and, you know, things like that. And I think it was more because I was 6 years old. So I think 5 years old. I think I was 6 years old because my dad was just trying to get me into getting interested. And, you know, we're watching all sorts of Kung Fu movies and stuff like that. So that really got me interested in that part. And that I liked it. But, you know, I think we moved and there was no Kung Fu in the area. So we found a karate, which was very, very heavy and strong in the area at the time.
So do you remember, maybe you don't from, you know, being that young, but do you remember doing Kung Fu for a year and then switching to a system like Shotokan? Do you remember some of the differences that stood out to you? I mean, that as a kid, that had to have been kind of almost like a culture shock going, because those are very different styles.
Completely. Yeah, because when we were doing the Kung Fu, it was all like, you know, the shallow movements and the little, you know, cat-like movements and the stances were a little bit different. And then we went to the Shotokan school, and, you know, the teachers there were beating the crap out of the students. Like, you know, you stand there and you stand there in a line, and he walks by and he punches all the students in the stomach.
Yep.
As the instructor goes by. And that's one thing that I did a lot too, as in my other schools afterwards. But we never did that in Kung Fu. But, you know, it's also at the same time I was, you know, 5, 6 years old, so I don't think he was really trying to do that. But it was damn scary for me at the time. I was thinking, whoa, I hope I'm not going to do that. Sure enough, it wasn't. Yeah. But I learned a lot of foundational skills with Shotokan, which helped me apply in everything else I did. Okay. So it was great.
Did you get into the competition side of things at that age, or?
At that age, no.
Okay.
Not until I came to Canada.
Okay.
And then for Canada, we found a Shitoryu school, and then I found a Shotokan school, and that's where we started competing. So I was my cousin myself, Roland Chan Jr. Him and I competed along the circuit, and we were known as the Chans because we would come up in the ranks pretty fast. And the open circuit tournaments was always kind of different. In the closed circuit tournaments, we both of us ranked like top 5 in Canada
Mm-hmm.
for I think the years of 87, 88, 89,
Okay.
or 86, 87, 88, I think it was. And then I stopped competing in that circuit there.
Okay. And what did you compete in? Did you compete in forms? Did you compete in fighting, weapons?
All three.
Okay.
And team oriented katas and yeah, all three. So that was my thing. But there's so much politics in martial arts.
Yes.
And everything, and every system, and every school, just where you go, every organization, there's so much politics. And so that kind of turned me off of it. So there was about a year or two there where I just said, I don't want to do martial arts anymore. But,
Oh, wow.
I literally, my whole going up in high school, I had to do martial arts. My dad had made me drop out of all my sports because I was on the track team.
Really?
I was on the volleyball team, the basketball team, but I had to literally drop out of everything because he made me do 7 days a week. And where I was in Mississauga, and where my other school was in downtown Toronto in Danforth, I had to literally finish school and go straight on the bus to a subway. It took me like 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get there. Train for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then he picks me up and I come home.
Wow.
That was at least 3 nights a week, and then the other 3 nights a week was at my other club, which was in Streetsville, Mississauga, Streetsville, close to my area. And plus, I had to teach another week and run the school one day. So it was literally 6, 7 days a week, maybe Sundays off, kind of thing.
Wow. So what drew you to the teaching side of it? Was that something, did you have a choice at that age or?
No choice.
Okay.
But I mean, as you become a certain level in martial arts, and I mean, teaching is part of it. And once you start teaching, you start realizing your areas where you need to improve on, where you're doing, and how you can teach better, how you can help people better. Anyways, because with the karate code, and it's all about helping each other and self defense and all these things. So. And each school becomes a community, and within the community, the organization becomes several communities, which all come together.
Yeah.
So you want to help other people, but that was part of our curriculum. That once you reach a certain level, you had to take classes, you had to teach classes, you had to teach juniors, you had to teach seniors, you had to teach, and then you had to get into teaching full classes, and it just became running the courses, running. So
Wow.
that's just part of the whole thing. Because obviously each organization, school, they want to expand.
Mm-hmm.
So they want the ability to find people within their school who can actually do that.
Okay.
So, that was part of their thing.
Okay. So back to competition a little bit. First of all, I'm just curious, what was your go-to weapon? What was your favorite weapon to compete with?
Well, the staff.
Nice.
Right. And, I wasn't, I picked up the size, and I was using the size for a while, but I really didn't like them. It was mainly the staff. The size I felt clumsy with them for some reason. I don't know what it was. Maybe they were too big for me at the time. And then as I got older, then I don't know. I didn't really like it, but I like playing around with them when I'm doing choreography and doing stuff like this. You're able to adapt and do different things. But during this time, so I got into my black belt, and my father then put me into Master Kim's Taekwondo, which was a WTF school.
Okay.
So I just changed my whole level of kicks, and I didn't start from the very beginning. He put me in a black belt course right away, and we just kept doing that until I got my black belt qualification for Taekwondo, my first dan. But that point, after I got kind of tired of all the politics, when I kind of stepped away from it, that's when I started doing Kali and Eskrima, FMA, Muay Thai, Krav Maga. I started just turned over the years. I started picking up different martial arts, and I just started incorporating it into my own. It's kind of like what Bruce Lee talked about.
Yeah, definitely. What were some of the main differences you remember for your black belt test between Shotokan and Taekwondo?
Just the levels of kicks you can do. And Shotokan is a lot of forms and a lot of step sparring, whereas Taekwondo was a lot of just like sparring with people and multiple people and getting your thing. And the thing was about with Shotokan and all that stuff was before with the Kumite was always like, okay, you have certain pattern steps you do, and you see how you react to them. That was happening there. But once I got up to my higher levels of Shotokan, we weren't doing that anymore. It's more about knowledge base and what you're doing.
Yeah.
There was a big tournament at the Kubota Cup with Kubota sitting there because my instructor, Takemasa Okuyama, his instructor was Kubota.
Oh, wow.
So he gathered all his top level students. There's like 6 of them, 7 of them. And Kubota gave a demonstration in the middle of it. He basically had, all of them kind of attack him all at different times. But this wasn't a planned event. This was just like randomly attacking, really. And
Wow.
when you see that, it's like, oh, this is all kind of bullshit. No, no, this was the real deal. Like Kubota was like literally throwing everyone as they're coming, and they were really trying to get him, right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they grab him and he throws them. No, no, they grab throat. It's literally he was throwing these things, and it's kind of cool because once you get to certain levels, like after first dan, you get second, third, you start teaching more aspects of like Aikido, which is in place, and judo, and everything's kind of all it all kind of amalgamates and blends into each other
Yeah.
with the techniques, and once your versatility of like how you would do moves or why, or these all start to kind of congeal together, which is really cool. And once I see, because most of like the fight choreography that I'll start to get into, I'll notice my stances and my movements are based a lot of like that, and they come from a lot of realism because where you're standing as opposed to just MMA. Which when you watch MMA fighters, other than certain like Machida, when you watch Machida, he really has that Shotokan explosion, power, movements. Where a lot of the other, I find the other MMA fighters, they learn MMA, which is
Exactly.
no
Yep.
martial art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nothing bad. I'm not saying anything bad about them. It's just they're learning. Like you get into a boxer. Boxers don't have that martial art training.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit different. But when you see an actual martial artist who came ground up from martial arts and then got into MMA, you see the difference.
Yeah, you can tell.
You can really tell. And there's some guys in there like John Jones has a martial arts background before he got
Yes.
into MMA.
Yep.
You can tell how he moves. Like the Machida. There's another guy too. I forget his name. They call him the Golden Boy. He had a Taekwondo background.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
His kicks were deadly. And generally, and anyone who just does taekwondo kicks like this in this kind of scenario usually gets demolished. But he was able to adapt. But you could tell his classic form, which I always appreciate.
I agree completely. I've noticed that a lot. And like I said, I used to judge MMA, and I could always tell who had the traditional background and who trained only in MMA. So yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see because you see the momentum, how everyone's kind of evolved. Boxers now in MMA, they can't stand straight on because they get their legs destroyed, so they have to go a little sideways. So, it's kind of a kind of cool adaptation, but you can see where they kind of start coming from.
Right.
It's like when you watch Krav Maga. Like I did Krav for like, I don't know, 9-10 years.
Oh, wow.
When you watch them, like it's meant to be trained for the masses. So, these techniques, they'll work. You don't need to be a martial artist to do it. But when you see a martial artist do it, it just looks that much more effective.
Yes.
And Lorian Lapadatu was my instructor. He's Romanian. He used to be one of the bodyguards for the president, blah, blah, blah. Anyways. But he was also a fourth or fifth dan in Shotokan. And
okay.
His execution of movement was just that much more crisper or that much more effective with when he does it than when I see someone else who does it. If someone else does it, it just doesn't look as pretty. You don't have to look pretty to do it. I'm just saying, maybe pretty is the wrong choice of word, but
yeah.
I don't know, the visceral viciousness because someone moving with execution that he knows how to move to kill you, as opposed to someone who's just trying to kill you. It's just different. That makes sense.
Yeah, perfect sense.
Yeah. So, and when I see that, it's like, whoa, it's always kind of mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, agreed. So I got to ask you with the Taekwondo you did for years, just because I have a traditional Taekwondo background. Do you remember which patterns you guys did? Did you do the Taeguk? Did you do the Palge?
No. See, so mine was strictly, literally just doing kick training.
Oh, okay.
Drills, kick training, and sparring kick training. That's all it was for a black belt level.
Okay, cool.
So that was like 2 years of just doing that.
Wow.
Because I was already in the whole system of karate and IK, work IK and KOA, Shotokan. So we just didn't. My dad had talked to the instructor. It was Master Kim, this is Ontario, and he said, "Listen, this is what he wants me to do. It's almost like private lessons for just doing kicks."
Okay.
Because
cool.
I already had a base level kicks. My kicks were always really good, anyways.
Yeah.
But now I'm just using Taekwondo different chambering and movement and thought basis and theory of why you move this way instead of this way. And
okay.
So that's what we did. I didn't learn any katas in Taekwondo. Yeah.
Okay. So then you started training in other styles. Now, what were like some of the other styles? You mentioned some of them, like Kali and Eskrima and Krav Maga. Which came?
MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing.
Which came first, and what was that all in Canada? And kind of what led you to make that decision? Like which Did you decide this is a style I want to go to, or kind of what happened there?
Well, there's always kind of trends that go through. Trends, all of a sudden, they're talking about this martial art.
Yes.
They're talking about this martial art, and everybody just kind of follows those trends, kind of thing. So, Filipino martial arts (FMA) was really making a big hit there because a friend of mine owned some schools, and they taught different martial arts there, and I was teaching there. And so you kind of watch, and there's a kickboxing class there, there's a eskrima class there, there's a kali, so you kind of watch, and you kind of, okay, cool. And so as one of the instructors there, and I want to try them now. I'd taken a year or two away from it because, my dad actually forced me to go to martial arts.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, it was just like, I didn't want to go. I just did not want to do it. But if I didn't, I got the belt kind of thing. So I was going. And at some point with all this politics, I was just like, I took a step away. But I found it because one of my friends approached me about teaching there. And even though I wasn't in any schools at the time, I was actually progressive training on my own still. Every time I went into a gym, I was always working the bag. I was always doing this. I was doing my kaizens, just my techniques and stuff like that. But afterwards, I was teaching now there, and I saw some of the guys, and they were doing this. And hey, cool, this is really cool. So I jumped in on it. And I started learning it. And you start learning different things, And there's a lot of different martial arts that I jumped in and learned, but I didn't extensively train it like Krabi Krabong. Like I learned it. I did a bunch of lessons. I did it for a while, but I didn't really diverge into it. But I know enough of it just to be able to, maneuver the swords and move around and the theory behind it all. A lot of times, I trained this guy, Adam Chan, and he's like pragmaticmartialarts.com. If you look him up, this guy is a hermit. Okay. All he does, and his base actually was Shotokan at first as well, but he's a Wing Chun guy and a JKD guy. So he basically literally sits at home and he'll train one technique for like 4 months, just one technique.
Wow.
The exact same technique for 4 months. And then he'll pick another technique and he'll do the same thing. And he's been doing that for like 30 years.
Wow.
So his application of movements is so fantastic. And in his classes, sitting there talking to him, and our theory base of things when he talks about why or this movement, this application is actually more informative. I learn more just by listening to him talk about theory and reasonings as opposed to actually just going and doing it all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very mesmerizing, and because he goes down to the roots. Like this is what he's done. He's live, breathes, eats to martial arts. Every time martial art, everything like it's fantastic to hear him talk. And when he goes to show you application why of certain things, it's even more fantastic. And that's what I love because I trained some Wing Chun with him, not extensively, but even during this time when I'm doing all these other martial arts, I'm training other guys doing some judo. I'm training other guys doing some aikido. I'm doing a lot of swords, katana work. I'm doing a lot of iaido. I'm doing all these things. They just kind of attract each other because of the nature of the actual martial art.
Yeah.
So, and when you really, I think, invest in something and everything kind of branches from it, I think it's fascinating because you start seeing how they really kind of really work together. And that's what I was doing for like the last, I don't know how long. The last, I was actually just training with this guy, Master Kim, TKDD in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
He's him and his student Jisuk. They basically developed a system based off Taekwondo defense systems, and it's a compilation of like Taekwondo and their general movements of why things are applied, and they incorporate some Kali, some FMA,
Mm-hmm.
and some Silat.
Wow.
And they now teach the special forces for Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, and Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Their knife system is outrageous. It's like, when you work on some FMA and you're doing their knife stuff, right? Their knees and the Kali stuff and systems with their knives, take a knife. It's all based on drills. You do this drill, and it gets you to get moving this way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find that if the students or if the instructors aren't, let's say, proactive instructors, they just basically teach their students the drills.
Okay.
And if they don't learn the application or if they don't learn the movement why, and I watch people that do it, I'm cringe because they're doing this stick movement and the stick movement is up in the air because that's the drill for safety wise, but they never get to the application wise unless you go train the Dog Brothers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're really, what I mean, you're really learning this stuff for real, and so it gives a general sense of security. A false sense of security when you're learning this way because you're not really learning the real application of why.
Right.
But this The knife system they have is all based off of reaction and not off of drills.
Okay.
Which if you just Google TKDD, you look them up, you'll see. I can't really explain. You'll see it yourself. And then I trained I trained some Sammy X with Peter Vekoff in Austria. So I flew to Austria. So I flew to Korea. I really want to train with these guys. So I flew to Korea and I trained with these guys
Nice.
for a while, which was really cool. And then I flew to Austria and I trained with Peter Vekoff and Sammy X. And basically I just gave say, hey, listen, I just want private lessons, and I can't give you a structure. I've seen your stuff. I just want to learn this. I want to see your breakdown. I want to talk theory, and because for me, I learn a lot through theory, and it gives me good practical application of why I'm doing things. And Peter, I mean, Sammy is a compilation of like Krav, Panatukan. It gets into some really interesting weapons like the tomahawk, different types of knives, which is incorporated in there. He has the silat version of, the karambits and stuff like that, and the pirate knife and all these things. So it's just very interesting stuff, and you start to see how everything kind of just melds because he develops his course. And he teaches the special forces for Austria, but also prison guards for all real practical application things.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool.
I find that very interesting, and I love getting into it with him. And he's like 6'1". He's an older guy, 6'1", but man, he gets a hold of you. Oof, you're in trouble.
During all this time, the thought ever crossed your mind of opening your own school?
It did. Ideally, when I was going through everything, I was going to get into. I was going to open up, like I said, I'm a sports rehab massage therapist.
Okay.
So I was getting to med school, and I didn't like the Western philosophy because I find that every time you want to do something, it's medicate and cut. And I wasn't so sure about that. So sports rehab massage therapy, they dabble in a lot of TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine, which holistically, I found that a lot of these things I like better. I mean, yeah, you have emergency medicine, you need it. It's just, but a lot of times, a lot of things you can do, you don't have to cut and medicate all the time.
Right.
So the idea was to open up a facility, and basically I can train you to be strong. I can train you to defend yourself, and I can beat you up, and then I can fix you as a sports rehab massage therapist.
Nice.
It's a one-stop shop. I can do everything kind of thing there, and that was the plan. And then I got into film.
Okay.
And I never looked back.
So how did that happen? Was that a plan at all, or I mean, how? Just kind of tell the story and how you ended up in Hollywood and how that happened.
Oh, well, okay. So I think it was in the early 90s. There was a TV show that every week it aired something. It was one week was Vanishing Sun, and 1 week was Hercules with Kevin Sorbo.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember these shows.
Oh, yeah, both of them.
I used to watch them religiously every week.
Yeah.
And Vanishing Sun with Russell Wong,
Yes.
Like, oh, man, it's so cool, So anyways, I always thought it'd be kind of cool, but I never had any idea that I could ever get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to Vancouver. Literally just sold my car, and I was standing in the Vancouver airport, like what am I going to do now? Because I really didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go somewhere different. And so eventually, I was working at a nightclub as a bouncer, and I met this girl, and she said, "Hey." We were dating, so she said, "Hey, do you want to be in my agency?" She opened up an agency. I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I never thought about it. And she got me a commercial for a toy called the Karate Fighters. It's like put these little men on these little sticks, and you twist the base of it, and it swings. Its arms and legs pop up and down until you hit the middle button on the opponent, and he goes flying off.
Nice.
So that was my first commercial, and I loved it. I'm sitting there like I was the tattoo terror. I had all these girls like worrying about my hair, and all these girls worrying about my makeup, and and it was just like, man, I love this. And then I got my check, and it was like, whoa, yeah, I definitely love this. And so working at the club, I met these guys that were Ninja Turtles. They were coming in regularly, and they said, "Hey, you should audition," because at the time. I'm about 5'8" and 200 pounds, 210 pounds, 215 pounds. It's a big dude for my height. It's built like a fire hydrant. And but I could move. I had a 3-foot vertical, jumping, spinning, hook kicks. I was a little bit acrobatic. Acrobatic in the sense of classical kicks, like all the back of the day, jumping, spinning, hook, jumping, spinning, back kick, those kicks. I wasn't a trick kicker.
Okay.
And they're like, "Grow." So I went to audition, and I got it. I was one of the bad guys, and I was a rank warrior. I was like a Foot Clan warrior. I was like, all these bad guys all the time. So I just kept continuing with it. I then made sure I finished school in case it didn't work out for me, and I just stayed into it, and that got me into the business. And next thing you know, I'm sitting in the dressing room one day, looking at the call sheet, and Kevin Sorbo's beating me up. And the next thing you know, the next show I'm on, Russell Wong is shooting me on the deck of Romeo Must Die.
That's awesome.
So I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And that took me to getting in the industry as a stuntman.
Okay.
And then, the next thing you know, I'm getting killed by Tom Cruise on Last Samurai, and getting beaten up by Jack Black on Nacho Libre. It just kind of went. And everyone in this career, you start taking a path. You're stunt performing. You either stay at stunt performing, which a lot of guys do, but you go to be fight choreographers, or stunt coordinators, or second directors, and maybe even directing, or maybe you go into producing, maybe you go into writing. It all depends on your type of creativity that you have a flair for. And I went into stunt coordinating, fight coordinating, and then stunt coordinating, and second directing, and now directing. That was my route.
Looking at your IMDb, you've done so much stuff. It's cool, but you did stunt performing in Long Legs. So, you're still going back and doing some other stuff too. And you were, just on screen as a character in the series Warrior too. So, you're still going in front of the camera a little bit. Out of all those, which do you prefer?
Now?
Yeah.
Directing.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Before, if you'd asked me that, there's no way, because having to deal with actors and stuff like that was always kind of scary. I would rather get hit by a horse. But now, creatively, I target high-end TV more than I do features. Features, the director has full control and say of everything.
Yeah.
So the problem with that is that some directors aren't really, some are, some that they're just very protective. They don't want. It's weird because, you have a team of people assembled to help you bring your vision to life, but some of them are just, I don't know, threatened or insecure, or I don't know what it is, but they don't want to take any help. They don't want to, take any, like, this is what my expertise is. Like, I have a director in one show telling me, well, I wouldn't do this punch, I would do this. I said, okay, well, that doesn't make sense because that move doesn't work. He said, well, I think it works. I said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. How many fights have you been in your life? Or how many, we're doing a knife fight scene. I'm showing, because, you stab people and move like this. And he's just like, well, that doesn't work. This wouldn't work. You wouldn't do this. I said, you will. I've done it. Well, no, you can do it. I said, look, have you stabbed anyone before? Do you know, they're like, well, no. Okay, well then how do you know? This is what I'm here for. I'm here you give me ideas that you want that you want to create, and I give them to you because based off of real. If you do not want it to be realistic, okay, that's no problem. Then tell me that. No, I want it to be realistic. I said, well, then that's not realistic. Well, I think it is. Okay, if you think so, it is. But then you're stuck with this mentality of someone who just sometimes, the way the stunt performers and stunt coordinators and fight choreographers, we've evolved. We're filmmakers. We're not just guys who get hit by horses and cars and get dropped on our heads for a living anymore.
Yeah.
The average stunt performer knows about acting, knows about how to shoot an angle, know about telling a story. So it's not the same. And it almost like they can't get it through their heads. It's been very hard for stunt coordinators, stunt performers to break into directing analysis because we're so typecast as being guys who they're just stunt guys. Well, that's not true. It's like, if you look at all these people you guys are beating up and all these things, there's a lot of storytelling and acting that goes in within it. And especially the new performers who've evolved. With the previous that these guys are doing and the storytelling, it's incredible. And two of the big directors, like, Dave Leitch, Chad Stahelski, Sam Hargrave, they're all like, they're doing all the big blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
With everything, and they're telling stories. We're telling stories. We're not just Here's a couple of guys get hit by a horse. Here's a couple of guys get put on fire. It's not just that anymore. So with features, the director has control. And if it's a director who's not really down with that, then what happens is then you're stuck to being just a guy, a drone doing things. Okay. Whether it's smart or it's not smart, it just becomes one of those things.
Yeah.
But high-end TV, it's a full series. And as the second director, as stunt coordinator that's on the show, you are integral to the whole series, to the characters, the story arc, to everything. So the directors who come in, they're there for 1 or 2 episodes, and a lot of times they understand you're there to help them. So because they're only there for 1 or 2 episodes, but you've been there for the whole thing. So the mood, the tempo, the feel, you're already part of the whole thing. You've already plugged in. They're just getting there.
Right.
So a lot of times there's a lot more ability to be creatively input within the storyline and what's happening. So which is what I love. That's why I love to do that. Mind you, the big features are all the glory and all the big things, all the big money and everything. But at some point, I mean, unless the story is like awesome. But mind you, I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone, hey, you want to do this big movie? It's not like I'd be like, man, no, I don't want to do it because it's not like that at all. It's just what I tend to generally try to kind of target is stuff like that, where I can be integral to the whole thing.
Yeah, you're not actively seeking out movies, but if one falls in front of you, you're not stupid. You're going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, I've been offered a few things, and I just like, I had to turn down a few things. I was on Warrior, but Warrior for me, I was second directing. I was second, I was fight coordinator. I was also directing on it. So the trust that Jonathan Tropper and Richard Sharkey had put into me for me to tell the stories, for me to direct the action, for me to create. I mean, it was so much more fulfilling for me at this stage of my career.
Yeah.
I'm not a new guy just coming in and trying to make a name. I've kind of hit a certain level, and I can kind of pick and choose a lot of things, and which is I'm very fortunate. And that allows me to have a team of people around me that make me look good. So that's good.
Nice.
And I got to able to develop them and create them over the years. So I have a team called Hitch International, Stunt Team, and I started it in 2007. And there are 30 members worldwide.
Oh wow!
And so it's kind of like G.I. Joe. Okay, did you watch G.I. Joe back in the day?
Oh yeah, all the time.
The cartoon?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a stealth mission. Okay, we're going to use Snake Eyes and this person. I'm not going to use Gung Ho, kind of thing. So you can pull these, and that's kind of what it is. It's the website itself is hitchinternational.com, and you'll see the plethora of guys. We have second directors, we have directors, we have stunt coordinators, we have fight choreographers, we have horse masters. You know what I mean? They're all in there around the world, and we always try and work together. So, and the idea of this job is to do what you love, make films with the people you love to be around, and then have a good time. How many people are stuck in their jobs? They just hate their jobs, but they just do it because they have to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing this because I love it, and I have to because I love it, and I'm doing it with people that I love.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's great.
First of all, Warrior, congrats. I've talked about it so much on this podcast. It's one of my favorite shows. It's beyond amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So many of my guests love it. Which episode did you direct?
Season 3, episode 6.
Season 3, episode 6. All right, I'll have to go back and rewatch that one. That's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I second directed all of them. So
okay.
Jonathan Troppers is like, okay, Brett, you can just create what you want, and just keep the story points that we have here, and shoot all the drama within the action. So, which is cool. That allows them to trust me that I can handle it to direct an episode. Season 3, episode 6. That was one with the Germans.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that was a great episode. Just re-binged it about 2 months ago. The whole series.
It's just Warriors. It's been on an uphill battle.
Yeah.
We were at Cinemax, and nobody gave any marketing. And then Cinemax got closed down, so Warrior was going to go away. But then HBO took it up. Okay, great. But HBO didn't do any marketing. And then after HBO did it, and then it closed down because Warner Brothers bought it.
Yep.
And so now they weren't going to do anything. Well, you know what? Let's do season 3. So we finally got 2 years later, we got a season 3. Great. And but nobody did any marketing again. And then, it turned into Max, and Discovery bought it. Now we're like, okay, now Discovery's going to cancel because it's not part of the mandate. But, nobody did any advertising. I was nominated for the Emmys several times. There's been no advertising for it. But it doesn't matter. Emmys is a popularity game anyway. So I'm just happy I make it to the top 5. That means they're actually voting for me.
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
they like the show and it's good stuff. But I'll never make the win because everyone's voting for all their friends and everything at that point.
So do you remember where you were when you heard about your first Emmy nomination? Was that Wednesday? Was Wednesday first?
No, Warriors
first.
2.
Okay. I mean, were you planning on listening for the nominations, or did someone call you up and say, "Hey, you got nominated"?
No. Well, see, when the show's going for it, what happens is the company that's the show. Let's say, so it was what was it? It was HBO. HBO said, "Hey, we want to submit a bunch of stuff, for the Emmys." So they submit it, and then I said, "Great." So I'll give them all the information. We create the reel for them, and then they submit it, and then HBO will contact me saying, "Hey, that the Television Academy Awards will contact me and say, "Hey, you've reached this nomination round," or "Great."
That's cool.
That was I think where was I? Where was I? Was I in Halo? I think it was on Halo.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Halo.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot of talk online. A lot of people are hoping Netflix will give it a season 4.
The problem is Netflix. They had bought the rights to air it.
Okay.
The 3 seasons. They didn't buy the rights to own it.
Oh, okay.
That's why the territories that, if you look at it, Netflix put it up, but it only aired in 15 countries.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Because Max still owns the territory rights to the other areas. But with only 15 countries, it was still top 10 for 71 days when it aired.
Yeah.
So imagine if it was in all the countries.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it would have been really well.
Oh, I agreed. It's such a good show. And like I said, I've never had anyone I've recommended it to come back and say I didn't like it. Everyone I've told to go watch it has loved it.
Yeah. It's really, it's probably the pinnacle of my career.
So did you get to work with Shannon Lee? Was she usually there on set when you were working, or?
Well, she was on my episode.
Okay.
She was the mother, but she's fantastic. She's become a really good friend.
Nice.
Yeah, we talk often. She's really cool. She's just busy.
Yeah.
She's running the Bruce Lee real estate name, so it's just she has so many things going on. She's constantly traveling around the world for it and stuff like that. So it's been great.
I follow her online. I noticed that she definitely travels a lot, and that's good though. Yes. It's good to stay busy.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's upcoming for you? Any projects you can talk about?
Well, let's see, I just finished this movie in China, Operation Red Sea.
Okay.
Leviathan Part 2. What did I finish now? Let's see. I have there's a bunch of shows coming up for me, but they have to come to fruition first. So they're like, this is happening. I had a show that was going to Malta, but it got pushed, and so I have 2 scripts, essentially 3 scripts. There's 2 scripts that I got called to direct. One I can't talk about just yet, so hopefully it comes to fruition.
Okay.
That's going to be shot in the U.S. Another one is called Run Dark, which is supposed to be shot in Colombia.
Okay.
And that's like a whole spec ops type of show, kind of like an extraction type of show.
Nice.
The other one is 16, which is my baby, and Foxhunt. So, we had everything in line, the cast, the money, everything was ready to go. Andrew Koji's also on it as well, and Joe Taslim. And then the schedule changed for one of the other shows, and then we lost our actor. And once you lose the main actor, what happens is you lose some of the money, and it just becomes a big shuffling around, trying to get everything back on again.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. The other one, Foxhunt, we had an actress on there who we sent the scripts out to, and we never heard back from her. But my manager knew hers. So after 4 months, whatever, he called the manager and she said, "Oh, we never got the script." So the agent never gave the script to her.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
I know. But she read it and she really liked it. And within that week, she got cast in a big show, and we lost her for 3 years. So,
That's.
But hopefully.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Things are still working. I mean, we might be able to get it, and we'll probably shoot in another location. But, still pending.
Okay.
We're waiting.
Cool. And like I said, I'll post a link to your IMDb so people can follow that and see what's coming up and everything too. So.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Cool. So in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you've learned that is at the top of your list?
Don't want to sound like cliche, but be like water.
You're probably probably the 7th or 8th guest who's mentioned that. So that's a good one. That's nice.
Well, it's It's just the compilation of amalgamation of all different martial arts that I've been doing,
Mm-hmm.
and how I piece them together. Because Brian, you could train the exact same martial arts as me, and you can do the exact same times, but you would piece it differently.
Exactly.
And that's all about the flow of water and how you bend around time, you bend on rocks, you just basically the way you move around things. And that's really one of that philosophy basically applies to pretty much everything.
That's good. I love it. It's one of my favorites too. So, all right, you talked a little bit about MMA and stuff. So overall, what are your thoughts on like MMA and the UFC? Is that something you're a fan of?
I was.
Yeah.
In the early days.
Me too.
Like it was, GSP and the no holds, like zero rules, and all these things. And back in those days when it was exciting to really watch a lot of these guys, Michael Bisping when he started coming in, and like Dan Henderson, and it was really good. But I think when John Jones was starting to come up and stuff like that,
yeah,
he really showed his fighting spirit. It was just now it's just such a showmanship now.
Yeah.
And it's all about, how much money you can make by like being an asshole, so you can, get people to want to see the drama between you guys, and then you can get pay-per-view and stuff like that.
I know.
mean, it's exactly how that guy, who's that guy that's fighting all the old people?
Oh,
Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Is it Jake Paul or is his brother, Logan Paul?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, the YouTube.
But
yeah.
anyways, I mean, they're probably tough guys too. That's not it, but it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And this him, he's going to fight Tyson, and if anyone knows Tyson, like I'm not saying I know Tyson, but if you hear his interviews and everything before, if you said one thing that he really didn't like, he'd be like, you know what, man, he'd be smashing your face.
Mm-hmm.
But on here now, it's like he's smiling and he's trying to push each other and stuff like that. I'm like, well, it's fake now, and it's just trying to get people to get pay-per-view. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. Hey, good on you, man. Make your dough, make your cash while you can. I mean, it's what it is. It just doesn't interest me in it much anymore.
Yeah, I tell you though, me as a fight fan over the years, I don't care if it's fake or not. You couldn't pay me enough to step into a ring with Tyson, no matter how old he is. Like,
oh man,
that guy hits hard.
Well, his contract is he can't have this. Where I think Jake Paul or Logan Paul, whatever, is his like he can take steroids if he wanted to, or he can do this, he can like it's just like
Yeah, kind of a joke. So cool.
Yeah, but Tyson's pretty cool. I think he's pretty cool, dude. He's usually a straight shooter. He says it the way it is.
Yeah.
And it's really he doesn't give a hell. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he'd be a fun one to interview. I've put in a request a few times to get him on the show, but I wasn't holding my breath. I knew that's not going to happen, but he'd be fun to talk to.
Yeah, he would be. He'd totally be.
Nice.
Awesome. What about Don the Dragon Wilson? Have we talked to him?
Yep. Yeah, he was on the show. Yeah, he's one of the ones that took me about a year to get him. He said yes right away, but then he's another one who's busy. He's still traveling. He's still doing movies. Finally, it was funny. One time he called me. He's like, let's just talk and try to get this worked out. And we talked for like 90 minutes. I'm like, Don, we could have done the interview now. We just talked on the phone for 90 minutes. But it was like 6 months later we finally got. Yeah, I've had him and I've had Benny the Jet and Cynthia Rothrock. So it's.
Oh yeah. Cynthia Rothrock. Yeah. Benny the Jet. Jeez.
Benny was fun. Benny was fun to talk to. So yeah, when I asked him the MMA question, I loved his answer. He said his problem with MMA nowadays is there's no Budo. He said it lost the art part of martial arts, and I completely agree with that. You had a good way to put that.
Yeah, because when you were watching kickboxing back in the day, you'd watch the Iceman, or you watch these guys. You could see who had a base where and where they were coming from, whether it was Japanese, whether it was Chinese, whether it was Korean, whether it was whatever it was. You could see the base, and as a martial artist, that's exciting.
Yes.
To watch this to come to fruition. Now it's just like people just throw their kids in MMA and say, okay, yeah, just because what do you do? I do MMA. Well, okay, but it doesn't make you not a tough person. For me, it just loses its luster.
Yeah, I know. We have a local MMA school, and I'm friends with the instructor. He was actually a guest my first year, and the one thing I like about his school is in the school they also teach BJJ. They also teach Muay Thai. So it's not just MMA, and a lot of his fighters do have belts in jiu-jitsu, which is nice. So I do appreciate
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I wish more schools did that.
because you kind of see things happening, and
Yes.
and like again, I want to say that I'm not saying anything bad about MMA. I'm just
Right.
saying it lacks luster for me because of I don't see the art in it anymore, and the first beginning UFCs, you had the coming of styles coming at each other,
It was so cool.
which was cool.
Yes.
It was so cool. And I was watching that one. It was a shoot wrestler guy, and it was a black guy, and he was a kung fu guy, Eagle. I think it was Eagle Claw.
Okay.
And the wrestler shot on him right away, and he basically defensed the kung fu guy, spun over him, grabbed his one arm, pulled him over, and had him in a cross.
Nice.
And he just came down elbowing on the guy's head, and then it was done. It was done in like 15 seconds, done. And it was like that was cool. But you could see where the techniques were coming from, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cool. All right, I got a few fun questions we used to wrap up the interview. And we were just talking about MMA a little bit. So let's say, at some point you decided to step into the octagon. You were going to go in there and fight professionally. What would your walk-up music be? What song's playing as you're walking into the cage?
Oh, man. Oh, jeez. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you.
Really?
No, I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know. I'm old now. So I'm trying to think about music that I liked from back in the day that would actually get me going.
Yeah. I've had such a wide range of answers. I've had anything from like Lady Gaga to, I had...
Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good one. Yeah. Nice. I like it. All right, cool. All right, in all your years of martial arts, what's the worst martial arts related injury you've ever had?
I snapped my fibula on my right leg.
Ow, damn.
Yeah.
Dang, how did that happen?
And the fibula is a small bone, so you can't set it. You have to put a plate in it.
Dang.
So they had to put a plate in it, and yeah.
Wow.
And I never took the plate out. I should have, but I didn't.
What were you doing when it snapped?
I was kicking a really heavy bag.
Okay.
And then afterwards I went to grappling with a buddy of mine, and basically as we were grappling, he leaned over to my leg, and I'd released already because I was taking him down. But and when I released, he didn't stop, and he came over and he rolled over on my ankle and snapped.
Wow. How long did you have to miss out on training after that happened?
Well, I was in a cast for I think 3 months, and then afterwards you can't do anything because it's brittle. So it was another 6 months. So probably about six to 8 months.
Dang. Okay. Not good. All right. This one doesn't have to be 4 names. I've had people give as few as 3 and as many as 8, but 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts.
Well, Bruce Lee.
Okay.
For damn sure.
Yeah.
Simon Rhee.
Nice.
Love that guy.
Yes. So good.
When we were working on a show together, and he had got his hips replaced, and he's looking at me, and we're in the gym, and I'm looking at him, and there's a couple of guys in there, and he's looking at me. I'm looking at him. I said, "Don't try it, Simon. Don't try it." And he runs up and he did a triple kick on a bag. It was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he jumped up, pop, 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 pop. He goes, "Still got it." I'm like, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty damn.
Nice.
Next one would be his name again. His name goes Iron Man. He's a Muay Thai guy. He's a Thai guy. He's an Iron Man. I forget. Oh man, I can't remember his name right now. I watch all his videos.
I gotta look him up because I'm not positive. I think I know who you're talking about. Is that Rod Tang?
Yes, Rod Tang.
Okay, cool.
I love that guy. I was watching a fight one time, and he damaged this guy's face so badly, but the guy didn't want to stop fighting. Rod Tang was completely fine, and he bowed out of the fight.
Wow. And
he took a loss because he did not want to keep hurting this guy.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's showmanship to me. That's fantastic.
That's the final fight and best of the best right there. Come on.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He gave this guy an elbow, and it pretty much dented his head in.
Jeez.
And it was bleeding everywhere. And the guy didn't want to stop fighting. He said, "Keep going." And Rod Tang stopped. He got down on his knees, and he bowed down to him, and he forfeited the fight, and he gave up, and he gave the guy a hug and a kiss. And he's like, no, I don't want to fight you anymore. He just didn't want to keep hurting him. But Rod Tang's fantastic. there's a lot of Super Lek, and you have all these other guys, and all them. They're all fantastic Muay Thai fighters. But Rod Tang shows heart. He fought Super Lek in a big fight, and he lost by decision, which I thought was debatable. I think he should have won. But if you know anything about Super Lek, and it's because of his kicks, and he he destroyed anybody with like with his kicks. And after the fight, Rodtang went out and played soccer.
Wow.
Yeah, it
That's
was fucking
cool.
fantastic. So Rodtang is definitely someone that I would I put on there.
Okay.
Jet Li,
Nice.
because I've worked with Jet Li.
Wow.
And he's a humble dude.
Okay.
He's quiet, but like we did a fight scene one time. It was like 180 beats. He walked in, it's already choreographed, and like I didn't do it. His guys all did it with Corey Ewan and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked in, he looked at it, he goes, "Okay, let me see it." So the guys did it. "Okay, let me see it one more time." The guy did it again. He goes, "Okay, I got it," and he got it.
Wow.
It's incredible. Yeah, he's fantastic. Let me see who else. Who else would I have on there? I just can't think of them right now.
Got a good Mount Rushmore so far.
Yeah, and and they're not necessarily. And you know what I like about GSP,
Mm-hmm.
GSP maybe too, is he's very traditional,
Yes.
but he applies himself in a modern way. But he's very traditional in his kicks. How he moves, in his takedowns. It's all very traditional based movements, and I love that. And like I love Machida. Like I really fucking dig that guy.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of great martial arts. I just can't think of them right now for some reason because you caught me on the spot.
Yeah, it's better that way. You don't want to have to. You don't want to plan out the answers and just read them off a list. I mean, it comes from the heart this way, and I think it makes a better list that way.
True, but I would have had some other martial arts that I would have remembered from before, but I can't think of them right now.
That's fine.
For some reason, I don't know why.
It's all good.
Anyways,
all right. How about a favorite martial arts book?
Martial arts book.
Yes.
Not like a theory-based martial arts.
It's up to you. And people have picked ones that are like about technique. A lot of people have picked biographies. A lot of people pick like Book of Five Rings and things like that. Completely up to you.
That's what I was going to say.
Nice.
Because it's not basically it's and I tend to, because it's a lot of theory based of Book of Five Rings is about theory based and about a way of thinking. It's not necessarily about a technique itself, because a technique can be applied any way you want it to. A technique can be applied different ways depending on how you think about it, and that's why I said if you train the exact same martial arts that I trained, we would apply it differently according to our rivers, how it moves.
Yes,
and that's why. Techniques they're okay. Yeah, they're great. But technique is you can't really apply technique if you don't know how to apply it.
Right.
So the book Five Rings teach you how to think about different ways of applying it.
I like it.
And that's why I would say that book.
Awesome. All right. Do you have a favorite martial arts video game? Did you ever get into games?
Yeah, there is. There was. Well, Street Fighter was, one of everyone's.
Yes.
But no, there was another one. Oh, man, I can't remember it now. Ninja Scroll.
Only one or two people have mentioned that one. I don't think I ever played that one.
Well, the actual game is not called Ninja Scroll, but it's based off of that.
Okay.
The game was based off of Ninja Scroll.
Okay.
Which is the same characters and everything like that. But that was my favorite game.
Okay. Cool. All right. These last few questions might be hard because you can't pick any that you've worked on. A favorite martial arts TV show.
Favorite martial arts TV show.
Can't pick Warrior. So.
But that would be the one I would pick. Really.
I know. But, a lot of people have, trust me. So then your second favorite martial arts TV show.
A lot of people have picked Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Show.
Yes.
Any big names?
I'd have to go back and look. That's one thing I don't track. I mean, I don't keep a list of what everyone picks just because it's on the episode, but I need to start doing that. But no, I know people have picked. And also people, anytime someone mentions Kung Fu, I bring up Warrior. And I'm like, if you like Kung Fu, have you? And the ones who haven't, they're like, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to go watch it. So hopefully a lot more people have gone to watch it. So
hopefully that'd be great. Thank you. Martial arts TV show.
You mentioned Vanishing Sun earlier. Would that be it maybe?
Yeah, but it didn't have that much martial arts in it though.
Yeah.
It had Russell Wong and he was doing something, but it didn't really have that martial arts show. That martial arts a little bit, but that is what attracted me to it, was because of how I identified with Russell Wong.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine did a show called American Born Chinese.
I loved that show. That was so good.
So I liked it, and because that's exactly when I was growing up in high school. The way the kids were making fun because you were Asian, and just like one of those things. I got too much into the Wukong and all the other thing. I think that's what you lost the American audience. But the action was great.
I loved it. Yeah, it was really
for
good.
the type of action they were doing. So I'll go with that.
Okay, good. All right. How about favorite martial arts movie?
Oh, well, what's one of the big classics is always Bloodsport.
Yep.
Those got to pay homage to that one. Let me see what else. I was thinking about this the other day too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily a martial art movie. Let's say, would you consider Born Identity a martial art movie?
I wouldn't, but I love the martial arts scenes that are in it.
But it's because it's very practical.
Yes.
The movement, and that's what I loved about it. That's what I'm going to have to go with for now because I just can't seem to think of one right now.
And that's actually for the final question I'm asking. My pick is usually one from Born Identity. But we'll see what you have to say.
Born Identity 1. Born Identity 1. I didn't like 2 and 3 and 4. So
yeah. And definitely the remake with Matt Damon, not the original from the 80s. That wasn't that good. Yeah. All right. So the final question, this one, seriously, with your background, I can't wait to hear your answer. But any movie you've ever seen, favorite movie fight scene?
Well, there's a couple.
Okay.
There's Fist of Fury.
Oh, yes.
The Jet Li.
Yep.
And the Old Master, the girl's father.
Mm-hmm.
That one. Also, it's a Donnie Yen one.
Oh.
And Donnie Yen is playing the Black Mask.
Okay.
That one.
Okay. Did you hear Donnie Yen? They're making a kung fu movie starring Donnie Yen based on the 70s TV series.
No.
Yeah, I read about that like a month ago, and I really hope it happens because that would be kind of awesome, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like Kenji Tanigaki. Oh, fuck, there you go. One of my friends, Kenshin. One of my favorite movies, martial arts.
Okay.
Kenshin. You ever watch Kenshin?
I don't think I have. I'll have to find
my
that
gosh,
one.
Brian, you got to watch Kenshin, man.
Okay.
It's like Kenji Tanigaki is the fight coordinator and action director for Kenshin. It's Japanese, samurai based, but a dude, Batusai, who's killed too many people in his life, so he's vowed not to anymore. So he basically has a reverse sword. Okay. So it's a blunt side that he attacks people with. It's just fantastic. Nice. You got to watch it. It's so good.
I will add that to my list. I know when we're talking about fight scenes, you talk about Born Identity. The one I always go to is the scene on the park bench when the two police officers wake him up. That quick scene right there. I love that so much. That's one of my favorite scenes.
What I liked was the one when he was in the embassy.
Oh yeah.
He was it was because Nick Powell was the stunt coordinator and fight choreographer for that show, Born Identity 1. And Nick Powell was my mentor.
Oh, cool.
So he taught me in a lot of ways how things in a different way, but it was the usage. It was like he had to deal with 3 guys who had sticks and who had a gun. Anyway, so and a closed circuit. He had to use the space, the movement, how he moved his body in and out, and not just fight techniques.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about Born Identity.
That's cool.
Or his fight in the apartment with the pen.
Yes. A few people have picked that one too. That's a great fight scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, before I let you go, is there anything I forgot to ask you, or just anything we want to make sure we get out there before we wrap it up?
No, I think it's good.
Cool.
Check out my site, brettchan.com. It tells me a little about what's going on in my life. Otherwise, no, that's about all.
Well, seriously, man, this has been a blast. I know, like I said, with you being in Romania and the time difference, it's always kind of crazy to schedule these things. So I appreciate you taking the time to make this happen. And I think the listeners are really going to love this interview.
Cool. Thanks for reaching out, Brian. And thanks for, taking the time and dealing with my schedule.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.